The truth about No King's Day? I'm Jim Drastic.
I'm Tiffany Drastic.
I'm Nick Knudsen.
So what is the truth about No King's Day? The truth is that it was a major success. And despite what you may have heard on the news, it was overwhelmingly peaceful.
Indeed.
There were over 2,000 events nationwide, plus many more globally. And we were at one of the many local events here in our Portland, Vancouver area.
Yep.
We went to the one in downtown Portland, and there was over 25,000 people that showed up to that one.
Amazing.
And we're hearing that across the nation, it was the largest protest in American history.
Yep.
All right, you guys.
Hey. Associated Press and NPR and other news outlets are reporting that there were anywhere between 5 to 7.5 million people came out for democracy.
Wow.
Pretty incredible. So today we thought we'd just spend a few minutes talking about what we thought of the event.
Yep.
And we'd love to hear what you think too. Tell us about your event, 503-212-4600, or you can email us at shout@thedangerousones.com. Also send us your pics. We'd love to share them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
What did you guys think?
Well, I mean, it felt like the biggest protest that I've ever been to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to, you are where you are and you can't see over people's heads, but like it seemed really massive. And when I went, I know you guys cut out a little bit before the end of the route, the marching route, but when I was going over the Hawthorne Bridge, I looked over at the Morrison Bridge and saw all of the people, like it was completely packed on that bridge, and that's when I realized, holy crap, like that it's like
the parade
there was
route.
still a half a mile of people behind me, and it was going over the Hawthorne, it was going all the way up Grand Avenue on the east side of the river, the Willamette River, and then it was crossing over the Morrison, and then back down to the waterfront, and like that, like for. If you don't know Portland, that's a massive...
That's a long parade.
Yeah, that's a very, very long parade of people. So,
That's a lot of people.
It was very, very cool.
I'll put up the video that you took too, which went viral because it's incredible when you see it. He's standing on one bridge and it's stretching all the way across, all the way down, and all the way back across another bridge.
It's crazy.
It's insane. What did you think of the protest?
I've been to a lot of protests in Portland in my life, and this was by far the biggest I'd ever been to.
Yeah.
And the vibe was so like everyone was just excited to be there. Everyone was just like almost like, God, we fucking have to march for this shit still. But it was so like we all knew we had to be there. The signs were amazing. I took so many pictures of the signs there.
Everybody got the assignment about being creative.
Yeah.
My favorite one is I think I have some photos of it too, is there was two elderly women walking a stretcher that had a skeleton in it, and they were walking. I mean, I was like, that is...
And the Constitution
hilarious.
Was on top of the
skeleton. And the Constitution, right.
Yeah, and they were nurses. They had like old school nursing hats on.
Yeah.
You know, it was so cute.
It was so great. Yeah, there was 25,000 people, possibly even 30,000 people that showed up for the Portland event.
Yeah.
But that was the great thing, and this is why I think across the nation, why it became the largest protest of all time here in America, is because there were so many events in small towns where 4 people showed up, where 50 people showed up. You had an example.
Yeah, so Jamie Carter, who's works with me at Demcast, helped to run the Salt Lake City, Utah protest, which had some tragedy associated to. We'll
get into it later.
Yeah.
But being from Utah, she was telling me about a little city called Ephraim, Utah, that has like 5,600 people in it, and this is like deep, deep red America, like hardcore Trumper America.
Yeah.
And there were 100 people who came out in Ephraim, Utah. And one of the cool stories that she relayed to me was that the cops, so the militia people who were out in force in that part of the country showed up, and they were ready to start
tussling.
Yeah,
and the cops actually, they were like, no.
You
have to stay back. These people are permitted. They have their American right to free speech. You stay over here.
Hey.
Yeah. So way to go. And I will say, like the cops who were on the street in Portland were really gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like So, yeah.
Totally. And Tiffany was handing out American flags. And so I grabbed a couple of flags from her and I ran up to a couple of cops on the bridge there and said, here you go. And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
And they took them. You know?
The one cop was like, fuck, yes, of course I want it. Yes. Of course I want it, you know. There were a couple times where I would say, hey, do you want a free flag? And people would say no. And because they don't, everyone's still like pissed that they've appropriated our flag. And so I would just say, you can turn it upside down. And they would laugh and I'd give it to them, you know. And it was like, it became, you know.
A lot of people were like, no. And then they went, no, wait a minute. Yeah,
this one guy, he came back. He goes, no, like, why would I ask him that? And then he came back. He goes, all right, I'll take it. I said, okay.
I think they wanted to make sure you weren't selling them or something.
I think so. I think so. I was standing on top of the bridge and this lady was standing here and she kept looking at me. And I was like, what is she looking at me for? And so I look at her and I go, oh, do you want a free flag? And she goes, no, that's not my flag. I have a king and I love my king. And my king is doing way better than you're doing with your president. And she starts laughing. And I just look down at my phone. I'm like, okay. And I just go, and everyone around like starts giggling because it's like, these are the kind of people, like, they're kind of Scientology about it. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, they're super weird and they just like get right up in your face and say the weirdest shit. And it's like, see, this is how I know I'm growing, because the old me, I would have pushed her down right in the street. Like, so I just collected myself. I said, okay. And I went back to filming and you just don't engage. They're everywhere. Just don't engage.
But I would say that at this event, the one in Portland, there were, she was the only agitator I saw.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she only said something because you had offered her a flag.
I was
don't even know if she would
nice to you, bitch. God.
I don't think she would have even had said anything.
I don't know. You know? I don't know. I know people like that. There is a payroll of people like that. So who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of like undercover cops not being aggressive, but like standing in the way on purpose of people, which is just like
before.
And it's just like, you know, those people, like, we're not here for that. We're here to like talk with our friends, and you know, we all have gone to war together. That's what it feels like. So it's nice to walk with everybody.
Yeah. And the truth is that the events nationwide were overwhelmingly peaceful, despite what you may have seen on your news. Now, Tiff and I, when we got home, we thought, well, let's turn on the news, and we turned on the local news, and they led with like something that had happened not at the protest, but at the ICE detention center here in Portland.
Like hours later.
They used some tear gas on some of the people there, but that has nothing to do with what happened at the protest. So that was very misleading. Shame on you, KPTV and KGW.
You guys know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing.
And also, like, I'm so shocked.
No, I know.
It never used to be that way.
Right.
You know, they would always be like, look at the people of Portland coming out in the streets to support each other's rights. And now it just feels like super bought and paid for, like worse than before.
Nationwide, there was only 2 instances of tear gas. One was in Portland, had nothing to do with the protest. The other one was in LA. Apparently had a little bit to do with the protest. They were asking people to leave the protest after it was over, and some folks were still kind of lingering about. They fired fucking tear gas at them, and they used their horses to corral them and all the protesters and stuff. It was you know, but again, it didn't come from the protesters.
The ones like, you know, look at the ones who are dressed for violence. That's what they think is going to happen. We're just like down there with like our flags and our dogs and our babies. You know,
there was something that happened in Salt Lake City, and it was a tragedy, but we don't know exactly everything that went on there, so we'll save that for another time. But across the country, 5 million people, you know, nothing.
Every single state.
Yep. And then, okay, so I'll be honest. I went home and I turned on the Trump thing because I was like, I want to see. I got to see, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was really, really satisfying.
Epic.
It really was. It really was.
But you know what my takeaway from that, Nick, was that I watched that. I go, this is embarrassing for America.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I saw a great, a great video where it was like, what Trump wanted, and it showed like a North Korean thing, and it's like what he got. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, and I was talking to a veteran, an Army veteran, about because like the soldiers who were marching out there were like it was a little bit not locked.
Oh, it was not sharp.
It was not clean.
Yeah.
And she was like, no.
Yeah.
Like that shit
Are they
is
doing that
drilled into
Yeah.
you. Like there is no way that happens unless that's like
on purpose.
on purpose.
Yeah.
So like,
I heard that too. You
All
were telling
right,
me
you
that.
guys.
if that's the case,
Thank you for your
thank
service.
you for your service.
No kidding.
Well played.
There was
Yes.
one guy in South Carolina, this little town called Union, and it's all deep red, right? And he came out by himself and he brought a little like paper plate and he wrote a little sign, just said "fuck Trump" on it, and he's talking to his camera. And when I first saw it, it had like 4,700 likes or something. It hadn't gone very far. I checked it again today. It's like in the millions.
Oh, good.
I know. What is his name? Dean Bear 65 in South Carolina. We see you. We hear you. Good job. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah,
And
no
he's
kidding.
a veteran? Is that right?
No, he's just
Okay.
like a blue dot.
Just a blue dot.
And there was
Okay.
nobody
good for
else
him.
came out. Nobody's even in the town. He's just like out there by himself.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Now at our event, we tried to go live for the first time, and that was a bit of a failed attempt.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry about that. You can actually see that video. It's on our YouTube still, and but it was fun. You know, we turned it on, but right as we kind of turned it on, we walked into the event, and immediately people were shoulder to shoulder.
Oh yeah, the signal was just
and it was a wall of people. Too.
Yeah.
And then also, I also wanted to say a big shout out to everybody who came up to say hello. They were like, "Love the show."
I know.
We got to meet some listeners.
That was so gratifying.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
We are the dangerous ones. Yes, we are.
I was like, oh my God, how nice.
I know.
Yeah.
I still get tripped out. Like, you're like, oh, right.
Me
right.
too.
You know, people can, they know what you look like.
Yeah. And then
Um,
my son's childhood friend that I haven't seen in like 12 years, they're all in their 20s now, right? So I haven't seen these kids since they were kids. And this young man walked up to me and he goes, "Tiffany?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, hi. I'm your son's old friend, Jack." And I was like, I immediately see the age drop off of his face, and I remember his little 14-year-old self, and I just grabbed him and hugged him. You know, I hadn't seen him in so long.
Yeah, it was
he
great.
He came out with his dad. It was great.
That's the great thing that we were saying before the event on some previous episodes. We were saying one of the great things about protesting is you get to see a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You know, we ran into a ton of people we knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was so wild.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Pam.
Yeah.
And Renee.
Hi, family.
Yeah. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
We had a great
I hope you found your mom.
a great event. And nationwide, it was just a fantastic day. Now, I would just say one thing. I hope we can do that more often.
We can.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning, you guys.
Yeah.
And they want us scared, and we're not going to do it. It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was so great. I know we can do it now. So now everyone has to come and they have to bring somebody with them next time.
Absolutely. Tell us about what your No Kings Day protest was like. Call 503-212-4600. You can leave a message and you can remain anonymous. Or you can email us at shout@thedangerousones.com. Folks, please like and subscribe. And if you are listening to us, please give us a 5-star review. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to thedangerousones.com. That'll take you over to our Substack where you can become a paid subscriber. Until then, stay safe, get into good trouble, and remember, we are all the dangerous ones.
Bye.